It's interesting. In a recent survey Alpha conducted with its family offices, limited partners, and registered investment advisors, joblessness, social unrest, and the inability of customers to pay their bills was their number one concern. And so I think education tech, future of work tech, aims squarely at this issue. And so now to address that, we've got my friend Josh Cohen from CityLight Capital, who's raised 3 funds and invests in impact companies at multiple stages, but focusing mainly on Series A. And he's going to introduce Erica Mackey of MyVillage. Josh, you got.
Thank you, Brian. Appreciate it. And thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to talk with my good friend, Matt, on the panel. CityLight has been around since 2004. We've been an impact investor since inception. We make early stage investments in companies in the areas of safety and care, education, and the environment. We make 2 different types of investments, as Brian alluded to. And so we make a significant number of seed investments. The objective is to invest in north of 100 companies over the next few years. And then we make larger Series A investments, for which we'll have about 20 of those. One of the areas in which, by the way, one of the ways we can do that effectively is we've created a significant amount of technology in-house that we lovingly call the machine, which has us looking at roughly 45,000 companies a month. And so our deal flow is absolutely fascinating. Happy to talk to anybody about that if it's of interest. One of the areas where we've been investing in for north of 10 years is in around the future of work. It is a thesis that was initially created to respond to pervasiveness of cutting edge technologies. And so we were initially concerned about the role that AI would play in the workforce. And what that means is robotics becomes more pervasive and the jobs and industries that would be affected by that. And our belief is there'd be a generation of people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s that would need to be reskilled and retrained, not only for new jobs, but for new careers. And we've spent a lot of time thinking about who provides that education, who pays for that education, how is it delivered, how is it accredited, and we've made a significant number of investments, including Trilogy alongside of Matt, along that thesis. All of that work has been accelerated over the last 60 days or 90 days at this point as a result of COVID. And so the dislocation we expected to see through technology has been compounded with the unemployment that we're seeing as a result of the pandemic. And we think that the needs associated with reskilling and retraining the workforce and the complexities associated with that are more pressing now than ever. It gives us also the ability to kind of reevaluate and reimagine what is possible and who will those large players and who will those brands be on the other side of the educational system. And we're really excited to be part of that thought process and that conversation. So we all understand that it's going to affect industries like cruise lines and travel and real estate, but it's also affecting things like education. And so while I'm incredibly excited to be an ed tech investor, and like Matt's firm, we're also benefiting from a bunch of these tailwinds, I think that it's going to have some significant negative effects on the historical institution of education. You will see traditional colleges closing. You will see the R&D budgets of companies impaired. And we need to rethink things that have been commonplace historically. And I think that's an exciting opportunity for entrepreneurs. One of the segments of the population, or one of the people who have been most drastically impacted over the last 90 days, are women. And so I'm incredibly pleased to be promoting one of our female entrepreneurs who happens to be very pregnant at the moment. There are now 50 million kids at home who are not obviously in school, that many of that responsibility falls to the women inside of households, and it's having an effect on their earning potential and their career trajectories in ways that I think MyVillage can play a meaningful role in providing opportunities. I wanted to give a shout out to the folks at Better Ventures. They're co-investors of ours in that company. I think they're on the call, and happy to talk about MyVillage, our thesis, CityLight, anything you'd like in the chat room or Q&A. But with that, I will get out of Erica's way and allow her to do what she's great at. So thank you for the opportunity. And Erica, the conch is yours.
Awesome. Thanks, Josh. Thanks for the kind words. All right, I'm going to share screen here. All right, so as Josh introduced, I'm Erica Mackey, CEO and co-founder of MyVillage. Also, mom of two, soon to be next month, 3 kids all under the age of 5. So this is a real space for me at the moment. One of the casualties, as Josh mentioned, of the coronavirus pandemic is the way that working families experience childcare in the United States. And that's not entirely a bad thing. The childcare economy was already fundamentally broken, with the average childcare worker able to qualify for food stamps in all 50 states, and quality programs costing more than child tuition in the majority of states. So COVID-19 has really exposed how broken the system was in America and given an impetus to act with urgency. Now is the time to create new high quality supply in the wake of mass closures, particularly of large childcare centers. So those of you who are parents on the call, I'm sure have had your own experience in engaging with your childcare setting. But these centers are likely to shutter permanently as parents turn to home-based options out of concern for their child's potential exposure and the desire for highly controlled environments and stable small groups of children. So if you're a parent, the pain probably resonates, and you won't be surprised to hear that even pre-COVID, there was only enough supply on the market to meet about 20 to 30% of the demand, which means that if we can actually create affordable quality supply at scale, that this $48 billion market can turn into a $200 billion market in just the US alone. So why is there such limited quality childcare supply? Well, it's almost impossible to build a career in early childhood. It's so challenging that 20% of the workforce churns out annually. So the workforce turns over every 5 years, and this has to change. As we look forward, we believe that this is a time for home-based care, and we've had our eye on the following truths. An increase in unemployment means that there'll be more educator candidates on the market. Economic instability means a shift toward shorter-term mindsets, both in supply and demand, and the need for financial aid and financing to accommodate a household cash flow instability. Social distancing behaviors will emphasize the value of small, controlled, home-based environments and normalize the home as a place of work. And the benefits of economy of scale will increasingly focus on stability and security. Now's the time to build a national network of high-quality home-based childcare businesses. Not only is home-based financially viable, but it's also the ideal canvas for an exceptional experience for families in care. Small group sizes, continuity of care from 0 to 5, healthy routines, and environment, and strong relationships between the families and educators. We make it easy to start and successfully run a home-based program out of your home, and we make it really rewarding for families to find and engage with these programs. And in essence, we franchise people's living rooms, kitchens, backyards to convert their homes into a high quality learning environment and ensure that they run exceptional programs. The US childcare industry is in trouble. The latest stats, even with the stimulus support, are showing that we're likely to lose 5 million of those 15 million supply placements permanently. So a third are just vanishing. In contrast, over 80% of our programs throughout our 2 first starting states in Montana and Colorado were able to operate through this crisis, including the one my kids were at. So it was a very different reality for me than many others during this lockdown. So is it possible to solve for all the supply friction? I just want to kind of walk through a story of Yemi, where this is Yemi. So in 3 months, we coached her to get licensed, set up, open an in-home program for 6 kids. She cut our startup costs in half by utilizing all of our equipment partnerships. She was able to charge standard market rates from day one and filled her program through our efficient marketplace in less than 3 months. And with MyVillage, she was able to set up proper accounting, tax, business tools, saving her more than $15,000 a year. So for the last 2 years, actually, her previous earning potential as a child care center teacher was roughly $30,000 a year. And the last 2 years, she's earned over $65,000. And because all of our programs are based in homes, tap into economies of scale, and access government subsidies, parents are paying less than market rate for an exceptional experience. And the average rate that MyVillage families are paying for full-time care in Colorado and Montana is less than $1,000 a month. So if you can think about what that contrast is to what many of you are experiencing in other places. We're focused on building our homegrown community of educators. So I think that's really important to note, is that the over 90% is actually in the high 90% of our supply base are brand new educators who haven't done this before, and are bringing quality programs online as quickly as possible. We've continued to double our educator supply every 6 months, and we've had our best sales months yet for supply in March and April. So the financial models, our take rate is 10% of tuition, and we're currently tracking at a 4-to-1 LTV to CAC ratio. We've been a lifeline for our educators and families through this crisis. So everything from delivering critical cleaning supplies and care packages to guaranteeing income for forced closures or under enrollment. We partnered with each of our state governments as well to provide short-term care for essential workers where they would have access centers and those were closed during this time. And ultimately, this has resulted in a thrilled educator and family community. So we have world-class NPS scores. So our mission is to harness the power of community to create exceptional care for every child, but that comes by redefining a career path and of what it means to be an in-home childhood educator. And this isn't simply a solution of creating supply for the undeniable demand. It's about redefining a profession by putting kids, parents, and educators first. So, thank you.